For a while now, I've been hesitant to make a video about Lord of the Rings for many reasons. For starters, what else can be said about the film series? Countless scholars, critics, and bloggers have given their take on varying subjects within the movies. Also, there are so many things you could say about them. The film's score alone gives way for a huge analysis and praise, let alone start talking about cinematography or theme. However, Lord of the Rings has been my favorite film series for a long time now. These are the movies I can re-watch over and over. I rarely watch a film more than twice unless a lot of time has passed already. And I never really knew specifically what made these movies so endearing and compelling to me, which is what I'm finally breaking down in this essay. In order to make a statement about the full trilogy, first we have to take the essential elements of each of the films to discover how they merge perfectly in the end. I'm not going to break down film by film, nor give the full synopsis, but I assume you've seen the movies if you've come this far. So, let's begin. The main takeaway from the film comes of course from the title. In this first Lord of the Rings movie, characters are developed as well as their relationships they build, their commitments, their connections, and with this, the movie develops drama, their common goal. They did not know each other before their quest, and they do not have shared stories. So, in order for these relationships to work, the film does these three things during the course of its runtime. First, establishing the characters. Who are they? What makes them tick? What is at stake? How are they like? Number 2. Threat. The Fellowship faces challenges all along their way, both internal and external. Boromir faces his temptation for the ring, which jeopardizes the mission. Later, the orcs and the Balrog kill 2 of the members of the Fellowship. They are now worn down. And number 3. Commitment. Even though by the end of the movie they are separated, they continue with their mission. They don't turn back and are now more confident than ever about their respective duties. This movie speaks volumes, not only because of its great storytelling and cinematography, but because when people stay true to their words, even in the face of impossible odds or defeat, it speaks to our hearts. To watch characters like that in those circumstances is, for me at least, the most valuable form of entertainment. Now that the plot and the relationships between the characters have been properly established, it's time for the conflict. The next part of the story has to be grander than its predecessor. The stakes need to raise and consequences have to be more dire. They do this by introducing us to new characters and locations to which the story and we as an audience will be emotionally invested. By the end of this movie, we have one of the best, most impactful and visionary war sequences ever put on film. Filmmakers and showrunners, the likes of Avengers and Game of Thrones, have said they based off their scenes on the Helm's Deep battle. And to solve any pacing problems you could face in battle sequences like this, the filmmakers make an excellent use of the Kuleshov Effect. What is this exactly? Now that we have 3 different plots to follow in a single movie, whenever one plot reaches a breaking point, we leap to the next plot. What in TV would lead to a commercial. So, we are always on the verge of our seats, wondering what happened to the guys we were watching right before while engaging with the present. Now, the third and last film must deliver on the promises that the previous movies made. Even greater stakes, greater set pieces, and a conclusion to its narrative. Return of the King does not need or even try to subvert the audience's expectations. We know we are gonna watch a huge battle and the ultimate victory or defeat for our heroes. We just don't know how the events are going to unfold. A key element this movie does greatly is going back full circle to the beginning of the story. We know there is no coming back from the experiences our characters faced. So, they have to come back to either a physical place or have some sort of remembrance from the beginning of the journey where they reflect on what has happened. In the case of this film, it's the hobbits coming back to the Shire. But something has changed. They are not the same hobbits from the beginning of the story and they will never be again. This is represented with Frodo having to leave Middle-earth with Gandalf and the elves. The author provides satisfaction in the end. for the characters we loved since the beginning. There is a very important moment in the first movie when Gandalf realizes that the one ring of power is at his grasp. He quickly tells Frodo to keep it, instead of guarding it himself.
Take it, Gandalf! Take it!
No, Frodo.
You must take it!
You cannot offer me this ring.
I'm giving it to you!
Don't tempt me, Frodo.
Towards the latter part of the film, Frodo is the chosen one to carry the ring on the mission to destroy it. Why is it that Tolkien chose one of the weakest, most vulnerable members of the Fellowship to be the ring bearer? There is a powerful wizard, a marksman elf, a warrior dwarf, and two perfectly capable swordsmen. The reason is a little obvious. Frodo can do no harm in possession of the ring. If he were to steal it for himself, not much harm would be unto others. Which is exactly what happened to Smeagol. Gandalf, on the other hand, if he were to keep it for himself, all hell would break loose. However, there is a bigger and underlying reason, which has to do with size. Not only the practical advantages of being able to sneak through the walls and armies all the way through Mordor, but the fact that Frodo is so small, Sauron won't even pay attention because he's automatically undermining that threat. So what does this mean? While it of course has the embodied lesson of size matters not, but the contents of one's heart, it has to do more with the little things in life. In the last movie, Frodo faces two challenges. First, he must beat the obstacles and get the ring into Mount Doom, and also, he must resist the temptation of the ring. Well, he fails at both. Gollum successfully defeats him and takes away the ring from him, and Frodo gives in to temptation in the end. Despite being a simple hobbit, way less susceptible to the evils of the ring, he fails. So, it would seem that our heroes defeated Sauron out of sheer luck or accident. But let us not forget that Gollum is alive because Frodo saved him out of pity and mercy, such as Bilbo did before him. Just like Gandalf told Frodo when they were in Moria.
Pity. It was pity that stayed Bilbo's hand. Many that live deserve death, and some that die deserve life. Can you give it to them, Frodo?
This is because Tolkien rejected the idea of the Paragon. This is the idea that a person can be morally perfect. However, he did believe that evil would always destroy and consume itself by the end. The little acts of mercy, camaraderie, love, and friendship were the true vessel that would keep evil at bay. Being a veteran of war, Tolkien of course valued the will to fight, and the courage to sacrifice oneself in the service of others or a bigger cause. He did not believe, however, that the ultimate goal was to achieve glory through deeds of violence and death in battle, which is why we never see our heroes rejoicing and being acclaimed after the battles in the films. He showcases this ideal through the character of Eowyn. She says that what frightens her the most is to live in a cage, while others live all sorts of adventures and achieve victory. On the other side of the coin, we have her uncle, Theoden King, who is so afraid of death that he became shameful, while she is so afraid of shame that she seeks death. She wants to be in battle. However, like we said, for Tolkien, the moral victory was all the more important, and both Eowyn and Theoden realize this by the end. Theoden does when he decides to go to the aid of Gondor, even if it may bring him death and not an ounce of glory. But he does so because he knows it is the right thing to do. Eowyn also learns this, and after defeating the Witch King of Angmar, instead of pursuing glory, decides to be at peace and to find transcendence and happiness by marrying Faramir. For what values are we willing to suffer defeat? Tolkien believes there is a little good in the worst of us and a little bad in the best of us. He did not believe, however, that there was little good in evil and a little evil in good. He believed in human moral complexity, but not in logical moral complexity. Boromir is the perfect example of this. Even though he failed in a physical sense because he could not return to Gondor and he could not protect the hobbits, he won the spiritual battle. Even if he failed, he made the ultimate sacrifice and chose to fight evil. He lost his life in the pursuit of a moral victory. So why does this story work? Normally, pure evil villains are boring. We chastised Marvel a lot for this type of antagonists. But this story is a commentary on the nature of good and evil themselves, and how they battle inside the hearts of each of our characters. The most important moral acts that we can take is doing moral things when nobody is watching. Bilbo and Frodo sparing Gollum's life, even if that particular act will not be remembered, was fundamental for the defeating of Sauron. Yes, human nature is wounded. We are all inclined to evil. By resisting evil, we are resisting the power of our own nature. The story of Lord of the Rings seemed to be about a courageous hero with impeccable morals who finally resists the evil of the ring. But it didn't happen that way. This is because Tolkien believed that the struggle to achieve goodness, even if we fail, was in itself moral. A small victory that will help us win the latter battles, because neither success or defeat are final. We keep on living, and even if we die, the story lives on countless other human beings. In the end, the stories are not about the clash of mighty armies and heroes in the battlefield. The last epic battle is literally a distraction for the real battle, which is inside of Mount Doom, which is in itself inside Frodo's heart. As Gandalf says, all we have to decide is what to do with the time that is given to us.
It's like in the great stories, Mr. Frodo. The ones that really mattered. Full of darkness and danger they were. And sometimes you didn't want to know the end. Because how could the end be happy? How could the world go back to the way it was when so much bad had happened? But in the end, it's only a passing thing. This shadow. Even darkness must pass. A new day will come. And when the sun shines, it'll shine out the clearer. Those were the stories that stayed with you. That meant something. Even if you were too small to understand why. But I think, Mr. Frodo, I do understand. I know now. Folk in those stories had lots of chances of turning back, only they didn't. They kept going. Because they were holding on to something. What are we holding on to, Sam? There's some good in this world, Mr. Frodo. And it's worth fighting for.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. We finally started our YouTube channel. If you like our content, be sure to subscribe and give this video a thumbs up. We would really appreciate it. Also, be sure to check out our other videos. Until next time.